Okay, so I think if you've watched some of my videos on F1, you know that I created an F1 2020 league that I've been racing in and that I created, and it's now been going on for maybe 3 months or so, I think. I don't know if you guys know that, but you know that I've been racing in a league, hopefully, if you've been watching some of these videos. Well, this here is the last race of the season for us. It's also the last race of F1 2020 for us. And so it's sort of a big event, if you will. I'm not really competing for the championship here. I'm not even close to competing for the championship here, but I have definitely been getting better on a wheel, which I got. I got a wheel probably 2 months ago or so, and I've definitely been getting better on the wheel. And so this is really my last chance to sort of make a good impression in the 2020 game. So that's kind of what I was trying to do here. It's on a track that I like a lot, Brazil. I generally race pretty well on Brazil. I've raced it in multiple games now, so I'm sort of familiar with it. I'm used to it, and I kind of know how to drive it. That being said, I didn't do very well in qualifying. I was slipping all over the track at the very beginning. I don't know if anybody saw that, but I ended up getting seventh here, and that was not one of the better times. Seventh out of nine people who had a qualifying lap, and then we had three who their laps were not valid. So we get into the race here. I'm starting seventh. I'll just go ahead and tell you, I just wanted to be super careful here at the start. I went really wide, and I knew this guy was on my inside, so I was just trying really hard to be really careful because I've had too many races just completely ruined by messing up in the first little stretch. And also, I feel like at Brazil, so you go down the stretch, and then you go left, and then you immediately go right on that S. I feel like it's really easy to mess that up really badly. So I don't know. I think starting is something that I really need to work on because with this, for instance, with a start like you just saw here, I'm never gonna win a race if I'm that conservative at the start. Okay, but oh, look at that dodging of cars. I was bobbing and weaving through there. That was one thing that I feel like I did pretty well during this race, is just sort of avoiding other cars. Not all the time, but most of the time. So we've already got one guy DNF'd. But anyway, like I was saying, I really feel like I need to do a lot better on starts in this upcoming season, in this upcoming game, F1 2021. My copy got here today, so I guess I'll start practicing on that pretty soon. Again, dodged some other guys. I think we had one more DNF there, and that was under virtual safety car too. So that I don't know exactly what happened there, but the guy who DNF'd there, Angelic Hunter, I'm pretty sure he left the league. He leaves the session. Yeah, he just left the session, and then immediately left the league on Discord. So I guess he didn't like that. I don't know. Never got his side of it, but he's gone now. Anyway, I just need to get so much better at starting because I'm trying so hard to be so careful, and I think you need to be careful, right? You need to avoid ruining your race in the first 15 seconds. But also, I went from 7th to 12th within 10 seconds, and that's not a good recipe for success. I mean, I think that one of my strong suits, it's only grown to be my strong suit. It wasn't to begin with. Yeah, so this dude, Skyland McKay, I'm pretty sure he said that he was dealing with some wing damage, and he was all over the track. I think he ends up pitting in a lap or two. But for the moment there, he was definitely suffering from some wing damage, and I kind of just felt like I was lucky to get by him, given I didn't feel like he had a ton of control at the moment. But I do feel generally like one of my strong suits is just avoiding other cars. And that's when we're thinking about wrecks, like you've seen a couple times already during this race here, just trying to get through that stuff without ruining my race. And not only during a wreck situation, but also during a situation like you may have seen last lap going into this turn here. I had the inside line. It was almost like a Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen move if you just watch the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. I had the inside line, and the other guy had the outside line, and I sort of backed off. I didn't push the issue into the turn. I think I could have, but I don't know what he would have done. And based on the line he took, I felt like I probably would have been in a wreck there and get wing damage and just all sorts of negatives could have come out of that. So it's just a situation where I try really hard to stay alive, basically, because the thing that I've learned about myself is that I'm not the fastest racer, and I am so I'm not the fastest qualifier. I don't have the fastest race pace. I'm not going to have success just getting a really great qualifying lap and then dusting everybody else that's in the race. I don't possess that kind of pace. So for me, I have to sort of try to differentiate myself in another way. I have to try to have success in another way. And what I've really been focusing on is trying to make consistency that other way that I'm setting myself apart and having success. And it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does work. And you've seen it work a little bit here. I mean, I started 7th, dropped to 12th with my poor start, but I'm back up to 7th now, and that's just a function of avoiding other cars. I think I've had contact with some other guys, but it was really it was wheel-to-wheel type stuff more so than any significant impact. But I've found that that's really the only thing that I can do. So at this point in the race, things seem to have calmed down a little bit from the beginning. I'm in 7th place. I'm up 25 seconds on the guy behind me. I am 0.5 behind Solitaire Meteor 0 here in front of me. We're on the 5th lap. And the tail of this race was just a lot of action. It was just action packed. And not for the whole thing. I mean, you have some lulls here in the middle that I think I cut out a little bit. This is good. You get to see me racing Solitaire a little bit here, which was fun. I enjoyed this. I think I had a little more pace than he did, at least at this stage in the race, and I think it might have been damage related. I'm not positive, because I'm pretty sure he passed me later in the race, if I'm not mistaken. So, but at this point, I had more speed than him, and I had a good little lap or two here of just trying to get by him and put myself in a position to hopefully take advantage of DRS, which I think I end up doing. And I know right here, for instance, I'm less than half a second down. This just feels like a great DRS opportunity. Yeah, and there I just took it, and I don't think that I look back. I think this was kind of it right there, at least until later on in the race. But I did end up having some lulls here in the middle where there wasn't a lot of action going on, but certainly at the points when there were a lot of cars bunched up together, there was a ton of action here. And honestly, I don't know that I expected this much action at Brazil. We had a race at Baku earlier this year, and Azerbaijan, if you're not familiar with Baku. And if you know Baku, it's a city street track. It's pretty tight, and we had a lot of action. So you saw there, I just skipped a couple laps. You see my pit window opening. We're on lap 10. Everybody around me is pitting a little bit. I think one guy, I don't know if it's happened yet. He DNFs here pretty soon. Yeah, here it is. So it's the guy 2 places behind me, Boy for Jesus. He had something happen there. I don't know what it was, but I asked him about it after the race, and he said it was his own stupid driving. So I'm guessing he spun himself out and took a DNF. I don't know. But I decided here that I'm not going to get in trouble like I have before. I'm just going to pit on the safety car and call it a day, which I have not done before. I have previously, I don't know, it just didn't click for me for a long time. Like, dude, you should pit if there's a safety car. Just pit. Like you're giving up time if you don't. So I pitted here, and I went from 4th to 5th. So I think it was ultimately a good play. Only lost 1 spot, and it was to a guy, Fonzie, who was faster than I am. So that's fine with me. But you see here, we almost get in a little trouble here on the restart. So on the F1 restart, the guy in first basically has control over over when we start back, because everybody else, there's no overtaking until you hit the start finish line. So it's up to really the leader, and I immediately hear, like, I went too wide on this first turn, and that wasn't even, it's not like I was protecting my position or anything. I think I got a little too excited and just overshot my braking point. But, you see a little bit of action here. Oof. So they got together. I got through there, stayed safe. There's some action behind me. That was a close one. Those guys were weaving in front of me. There was some contacts. I think I ran over a piece of somebody's wing. That could have been bad, but ultimately it was okay. And I come out in third place. Although I will say that the guy behind me is J-Rack, and he's the fastest racer in the league, probably. If not the fastest, one of the two fastest, I would say. And he did win the championship this year, I will say, if that tells you anything about his racing ability. But I was pretty confident that he was going to pass me at some point. I mean, he's what is it, 0.6 seconds behind me right now. There's no way the dude doesn't catch me. It's just a matter of how long can I hold him off. And honestly, it was going through my mind, should I try to hold him off? But then, I did the math. We've got 14, 15, 16, 17. We got 5 laps left. He's going to have DRS at multiple points. There's no way I can hold this dude off. It's just not possible. So I'm comfortable with that. I'm aware of that. And I just decided I would race my best and not hold him up when it comes time for it, but also not give him the position, which is a little bit different because there have been many times earlier in the season where I was a blue flag guy. I was a back marker, and J-Rack was passing me, and I had to let him go no matter what. So I certainly like this scenario a little bit more, where I'm actually allowed to race him a little bit. I'm completely on board with that, but it looks like right here is probably going to be the time. He's less than half a second back. Yeah, less than half a second back going into the DRS zone. I don't have DRS. There's no train here. Maybe DRS wasn't active yet. Yeah, so anyway, DRS was not active right after the safety car. Forgot about that. But he will get it right here, and he still is less than half a second back. So, yeah. Watch that gap shrink. There's no way he wasn't going to get it here. So I sort of went wide a little bit, let him take the inside, and then got right back in behind him, hopefully to stay in front of Solitary a little bit. Although, look at this. This is a little bit exciting here. So, again, this is that wasn't a strategy move. I just went way too wide and barely avoided that. So Fonzie comes in it was Ghost. Sorry, Ghost comes in from the back and hits the back of Solitary. And I saw a little bit of Ghost's wing go off. I was lucky enough to avoid all that, but I'm just trying to stay alive at this point, We've got about 3 laps, a little over 3 laps left. I restarted at third. J-Rack passing me was expected. Solitary had DRS, so I wasn't really surprised, especially after I went a little wide on that last turn. The Ghost situation, I honestly was hopeful that I could avoid that, but then I ran into the back of Ghost, just getting a little too aggressive there on the turn. Ray gets past me as well, and Fonzie is close behind, and Fonzie's a pretty fast racer, so I honestly mishandled that pretty poorly. Fonzie gets past, which is not a big surprise, but I will note here that Fonzie's got a 6-second penalty, so I knew as long as I could keep it within 6 seconds of Fonzie, I would get that position back at the end. Obviously assuming I didn't have any penalties or anything like that, but I was thinking I can definitely catch Ghost because I think he's got some damage. So I could certainly get him. And then this happens. So I hit a little wobble there, and that was pretty much it. He just got right out of DRS range. Even with the damage, I couldn't catch him. So we skip forward to the 18th lap. I think I had another wobble or two. Couldn't do much more. So I end up finishing 8th here. which was disappointing given I restarted at third on lap 13. But, I do think that I was good to keep it within 6 seconds of Fonzie so I could get that position back. So we end up at P7, which I don't hate. Wasn't one of the DNF guys, so that's nice. But it's a action-packed, kind of mediocre performance for me to finish off the year, but certainly was a fun season, and I certainly will be back with some F1 2021 league races.